In the midst of the Civil War, two sisters, Augusta and Louise, along with a freed slave named Mad, find themselves seeking refuge in their secluded farmhouse.
We got any of the guns. Let's get to the keeping. We ain't leaving this house. We can hide. Don't leave us. Then I gotta go down.
The atmosphere is thick with anxiety as they become aware of the unsettling presence of two Confederate soldiers who have intruded upon their sanctuary, desperately searching for food and shelter. Augusta, clutching a rifle that feels both like a lifeline and a burden, faces a harrowing dilemma. How to safeguard not only her own life but also the lives of her sister and Mad. The stakes could not be higher. The soldiers' intentions remained shrouded in uncertainty, casting a shadow of fear over their fragile existence. Their home, once a place of comfort, now stands as a battleground where the sisters must summon every ounce of courage to confront the looming threat that endangers their very survival. After President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, which marked a significant step toward abolishing slavery in America, a brutal civil war erupted between the Confederacy and the Union Army. This conflict left the southern states vulnerable, as many men were away fighting, leaving their homes defenseless. Consequently, women in the South found themselves compelled to fight not only for their survival but also to protect their properties from Union soldiers who had turned rogue, committing heinous acts of violence, including rape, murder, and arson against Confederate civilians. In South Carolina, two such renegade Union soldiers, Henry and Moses, engaged in unchecked pillaging and brutality. After assaulting a woman, they cruelly took her life and set fire to everything in their path. The scene shifts to Augusta and her younger sister, Louise, who were left to fend for themselves in an isolated farmhouse after losing their parents in battle. They were accompanied by Mad, an elderly former enslaved woman who, having gained her freedom, felt a renewed sense of safety and purpose as she continued to care for the sisters, becoming an integral part of their family. Augusta consistently defended Mad against Louise's hurtful remarks, reminding her that Mad was no longer a servant but a free woman deserving of respect. One morning, Augusta called upon Louise to help harvest potatoes, but Louise responded with anger, expressing her discomfort at being around a black person. Frustrated by Augusta's defense of Mad, she stormed off. Later that evening, on other part of the movie, a black man was seen riding a horse toward the south. However, he quickly hid when he spotted two Union soldiers approaching in the same direction, highlighting the pervasive fear and danger that loomed over the region. The following day, Augusta resumed her farm work with a sense of routine, but that tranquility was shattered when she suddenly heard her younger sister Louise's frantic cries for help echoing from the woods. Without hesitation, Augusta seized her gun and dashed alongside Mad, determined to uncover the source of the distress. What they discovered was horrifying. Louise had been bitten by a venomous snake and was bleeding profusely. Panic surged through Augusta as she quickly lifted her sister and carried her back to the house, her heart racing with fear at Louise's high fever and the alarming redness of her skin. Their situation grew dire as they realized they lacked any proper medication to treat Louise's grave condition. Mad urged Augusta to seek help from their nearest neighbors, and with urgency coursing through her veins, Augusta mounted her horse, praying for a remedy that could save her sister. Upon reaching the nearby homestead, she called out a greeting but was met with an unsettling silence. A sense of dread washed over her as she stepped inside, only to be confronted by a chilling sight: the lifeless body of the property owner slumped in a chair, the air thick with the stench of decay and swarming flies. Clutching a bottle of poison in her hand, it became painfully clear that despair had driven this woman to take her own life. The hope of saving Louise slipped further away. Determined, Augusta hastily rode toward her father's friend, Caleb, who lived several miles off, undeterred by the distance that lay ahead. After a grueling day of riding, she finally arrived at his home and tethered her weary horse. Just then, she noticed a black dog waiting outside, its presence adding to her unease. Ignoring the foreboding feeling, she entered the house to find Caleb. Without exchanging pleasantries, Caleb whispered urgently that she had made a grave mistake by coming there. Turning around, Augusta was met with the chilling sight of two Union soldiers in uniform, rumored to be mercilessly killing anyone they encountered in the South. Desperation gripped her as she explained her journey was fueled by hope to save her sister. Returning empty-handed was not an option. Caleb immediately instructed his wife, Molly, to gather any herbs that might aid Augusta's sister. Molly listened intently as Augusta explained that her horse was too exhausted for the return trip. With urgency in her voice, Molly suggested a daring plan: Augusta should steal the captain's horse. She would need to climb the stairs and leap through the window where Caleb would be waiting to help her escape. As Molly playfully sat on Henry's lap to distract him, Moses's gaze followed Augusta as she made her move. He quickly ascended toward the door, only to find that she had already slipped out through the window. When Henry heard the barking dog outside, panic set in. He tried to push Molly away, but in the chaos, she bit his lip in self-defense. In retaliation, Henry slapped her down and bolted outside, freezing in shock when he realized Moses was being held at gunpoint. Augusta stands resolute, her rifle aimed unwaveringly at him, warning that she will not hesitate to shoot if he so much as reaches for his weapon or takes another step forward. As Caleb urgently advises her to disappear, Augusta secures the gun across her back, turns the stolen horse with determination, and gallops away, driven by the desperate need to save her dying sister. Behind her, Moses and Henry exchange anxious glances with Molly and Caleb, who watch in tense silence, uncertain of their own fate. With each kick of her horse, Augusta pushes faster, the sound of gunfire echoing in the distance as she races against time. On that bleak night, Augusta arrives at the farmhouse, exhaustion etched on her face but a glimmer of hope in her smile. She finds Mad waiting anxiously and rushes inside, thanking God that Louise is still clinging to life. Embracing her sister tightly, Augusta and Mad carefully applied the medicine to Louise's back and affected leg. To soothe her into sleep, Augusta weaves tales of a cruel king and his servants. But as Louise drifts off, worry creeps in, her body burns with fever and has turned an alarming shade of red. Meanwhile, Moses and Henry stumble along the road, searching for any trace of Augusta but finding none. Just then, Moses spots a piece of Augusta's cloth caught among the leaves. This small discovery reignites their determination to pursue her. Back at the farmhouse, Augusta learns about Mad's painful past. She recounts how she and her husband endured the harsh realities of slavery, forced to labor in multiple homes before being cruelly separated by a new master. Yet Mad clings to hope that one day her husband will return now that slavery has been abolished. Their conversation is interrupted when Louise appears, asking for something to eat. This simple request fills Augusta and Mad with renewed optimism about Louise's recovery, and they begin to sing joyfully as they prepare potato soup for her. Later that evening, a night rider arrives at Caleb's home only to discover the grisly aftermath of slaughter, their lives extinguished and no chance left to save the dying horse. Moments later, Augusta is jolted awake by the mournful cries of sheep outside. She rouses Mad, grabs her gun, and they venture out into the darkness to uncover the source of the distress, only to find that a black dog has been feasting on their sheep. Without hesitation, Augusta takes aim and dispatches the animal with a shot from her gun. Suddenly, a voice calls out for the dog from the woods, sending a wave of fear through Augusta and Mad. They rush back inside, lock the doors tightly, and awaken Louise. In a moment of urgency, Augusta opens their father's safe box to retrieve ammunition that could prove vital. Despite Mad's protests against venturing outside alone, Augusta argues that remaining indoors offers no safety. The drunken soldiers would inevitably break in. Using the stairs for stealth, she positions herself defensively. Just then, Union soldiers outside open fire, narrowly missing her. Determined to survive, Augusta retaliates. As the thugs resort to throwing Molotov cocktails into the house in a bid to burn it down, Augusta tears off her dress to extinguish the flames licking at their home. But it's not enough, the intruders find other ways to breach their sanctuary. With resolve hardening within her, Augusta retrieves her gun and follows the sound. She shoots one of the goons just before he can leap through the window and quickly rushes back to instruct Mad on how to load and fire the gun properly. Slipping into her father's boots, she gives Mad a stern directive: shoot anyone who comes within sight to protect Louise. Augusta steps outside to confront the bandits directly. Familiar with every inch of the farm, she dashes into the woods to create a diversion. Meanwhile, Henry bursts through the door of the farmhouse with brute force, discovering an isolated, locked bedroom. He kicks it down without hesitation, intent on claiming whatever he can find within. Mad is paralyzed by fear, unable to pull the trigger against the goon. In a brutal act of aggression, Henry yanks the gun from her hands and strikes her violently across the face, knocking her unconscious and leaving Louise vulnerable and terrified. Desperate to escape, Louise attempts to flee, but Henry seizes her and throws her onto the bed, where he assaults her mercilessly. Just as he finishes his heinous act and aims the gun at her face, Mad, regaining her senses, shoots him from behind, ending his life once and for all. Moses then steps forward, attempting to persuade Louise with empty words of admiration, claiming he means no harm. He promises to lower his weapon if she reveals herself from her hiding place. But Augusta, refusing to let this moment pass, surprises him with a hail of bullets, though she sustains a wound in the ensuing chaos. Mad rushes to push the thug off Louise and offers her comfort in the aftermath. Moments later, Moses manages to rise and approaches Augusta, who lies injured in the field. In a desperate act of self-defense, she swings her gun at him, striking him down before hastily retreating inside to check on her sister. Mad uses alcohol to cleanse Augusta's gunshot wound and bandages it tightly to stem the bleeding. As they tend to each other, they learn from Mad about the horrific abuse she endured at the hands of her recent master, who violated her repeatedly while no one came to her aid despite her screams. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted by footsteps outside. Augusta and Mad take defensive positions, ready to confront any intruders. To Mad's shock, her long-lost husband returns, but their reunion is tragically short-lived as Augusta accidentally shoots him in a moment of panic. Mad rushes to his side, cradling him as he gasps for breath, expressing how much he has missed her. With tears streaming down her face, she kisses him goodbye as he slips away. Overwhelmed by guilt for the pain caused by her actions, Augusta feels a deep sense of shame and cannot bear to witness Mad's heartbreak. Seeking solace, she wanders the farm only to discover that the thug she shot earlier is still alive, his disappearance indicating he has escaped death. Rushing back inside, she apologizes to Mad for killing her husband and warns them that one soldier remains alive. They must find him before he returns to hunt them down. The three women gather their weapons and venture into the woods, using the blood on the ground as a trail to locate the thug in the stable, where he stands armed and ready. Moses attempts to dissuade Augusta from killing him, arguing that his life holds no value now that Union soldiers have taken Georgia and are advancing into South Carolina. In an unexpected turn, he professes his feelings for her, placing his gun on the table and asking her to marry him, yearning for a life free from misery. But Augusta's heart is filled with rage against the Union soldiers who murdered her father and brother. In a moment of cold resolve, she shoots him dead without hesitation. Shortly after, Augusta, Louise, and Mad dig graves for the fallen bodies in the field. As they work, Mad spots smoke rising ominously from nearby villages, an indication that the Union Army is advancing through South Carolina, burning everything in their path. In a bid for survival, Louise devises a daring plan. They will exhume the buried bodies, disguise themselves as men, and relocate to another state. They set fire to their father's possessions and make their escape just before Union soldiers can capture them. This harrowing journey culminates in an uncertain yet hopeful conclusion for the three women as they flee into the unknown. Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps until next time. Have a nice day.